to order. If you're watching this recording and you're interested in a comment or writing a story, please contact Bonna Johnson at Bonna, B-O-N-N-A, at visitmusiccity.com. Let's do a quick roll call. Lisa LeClaire is here. Mark Hayes.
Present.
Sherry Franklin.
Present.
Dr. Zib.
Present.
Brittany Chandler. She had reached out that she would be able to come, so I'm not sure. Rob Higgins, it's his birthday. I don't know if it's actually today, but he will be out of town, so he is not here. Derek Free, Neely Glenn, and I thought she had said she could be here. Kwan Taylor, who is also traveling and not able to be here. We do have a quorum, so we will move forward with the meeting. I'd like to open the public comment period, and I don't think we have anyone here who has signed up to speak. If you did want to provide comment, you must sign up prior to the beginning of the meeting, and only during the public comment period are comments welcome. So we'll close that public comment period. The minutes were sent from our November 14th meeting. If we could entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Just one correction, and it's just a spelling.
Oh, thank you.
Under Adrian's report, IMAX, I-M-E-X versus I-M-A-X.
Good catch, thank you.
I'm missing my R.
Other than that, I motion to approve the minutes with the change.
Very good. Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If we could make one other correction on our roll call, Dr. Brown is Sybril, S-Y-B-R-I-L, Brown.
My daddy would thank you for that. Even though the R is silent in Sybil, which is crazy. But okay. Thank you, George.
Believe me, as a woman who spells her name L-E-E-S-A, I understand completely. All right. I think we are going to move on to, let me just double check here. Are we ready? All right. If we could get the financial report from Jeff Mefford. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I realize it would probably be a good idea for you all to actually have the financial report. So I apologize that it wasn't in your folder originally, but we are pleased to report that financially the year is going well, with revenues and expenses tracking very much in line with expectations at this midpoint of our fiscal year. Hotel tax collections received by Metro have been reported through the month of November at this point. And year to date, the tax collections through these 5 months are strong, with a total received of $66,817,000. The portion of that which is dedicated to tourism promotion of $19,360,000 is within 2% of the prior year's total and is 40% above the tax collections for that same period just prior to the pandemic. So the city is maintaining the extraordinary tax receipt levels that we've experienced these last few years. 3 of the 5 months currently reported actually set new record high for collections for that particular month, with October setting a new all-time high record for hotel tax collections in any month. But then in looking at the financial summary that you have, you can see that the total amount allocated by the CVC to our Metro contract for the first half of the fiscal year was $17,318,000. Not having mentioned this recently, I wanted to remind everyone that the hotel taxes do not come directly to the CVC. We're only reimbursed for the actual expenses which are incurred in promotion of the city. So there's no surplus or profit in any way that comes to the CVC through any Metro sources. But total revenue then for the period was $21,247,000. On the expense side, our activities are progressing very much as anticipated. There have been no unusual or unexpected events that have taken place. From a 30,000-foot level, expenses appear to be weighted slightly more toward our marketing activities than was in the annual budget, but this is due entirely to the timing of the related activities during the year, and that will level itself out as we progress through the year. So again, in summary, the year is performing well financially. Our annual CPA audit has been completed on the June 2024 results, with an unqualified or clean opinion having been issued. A copy of their final report will be filed with the city once it's available. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to try to address those.
Jeff, I want to ask just a clarifying question. Did you say 40% more than pre-pandemic?
Yes, the months of July through November of 2020, compared to this past 5 months, so we're actually ahead of that by 40%.
My word. Keep up the good work. That's amazing. Okay. And one more question. You refer to it as a hotel tax, but that also includes taxes on Airbnb. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Occupancy tax.
Occupancy,
I guess
perfect.
is the technical term.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, can we get a motion to approve the financial report, please?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Bruce McGregor, our research report, if you would.
Good morning. Settle in. I have a rather lengthy presentation. Dina would like me to do kind of just a recap of the year and what's ahead for us. So let me get started. So I'll be looking at 2024 results for hotels and short-term rentals, highlight last year's trends that I think will carry it over into 2025. Also, I'll be debuting some new research for you from our partners called Future Partners. On a monthly basis, they are surveying the American traveler and getting an understanding of their travel behaviors and perspectives of the top 40 U.S. destinations. And that includes monthly surveys of people that have most recently visited Nashville. So there's some really good highlights to share with that. This is 2024 in Davidson County. We saw a 0.3% decrease in demand, so we were essentially flat in hotel demand last year. We just missed the achievement of 10 million rooms sold by 8,500 rooms. In 2023, we exceeded 10 million rooms sold. County average daily rates dropped annually by 2% to an average of 201. RevPAR was down 5% due to the drop in rate and an increase in supply that grew by 2.7%. There were 8 hotels with a combined 1,300 rooms that were added throughout the course of last year. Room revenues were down 2.4%, but still exceeded the benchmark of selling over $2 billion in room revenues, like we did in 2023. The second part of the slide looks at monthly demand by month. The green bars here indicate the demand we achieved in 2024, and I think it tells a good story of our highs and lows throughout the year. The first 3 months of the year had a slow start, decline year over year. In March, you can see we went down by 4.8%. But by April, our demand rebounded through the summer with a strong June, surpassing summer numbers of 2023 with a boost of several major events we had on the calendar. July came in a little soft. We were down 3.9%, but then we rebounded in August. We saw a 4% increase in demand in August. October, our peak month of the year, did very well. It was up 2.2%, and that led into a very strong November, which also had positive demand growth. The next slide looks at hotel numbers for just downtown. CoStar did a report on downtown hotels, and they quote the following: "The hotel industry's performance in Nashville's central business district area slowed due to increased supply rather than a lack of demand, which remained very strong," end quote. This year, the Nashville downtown submarket outperformed all other local markets, with demand up 3.4%. Supply was up 3.2% as well. So occupancy remains steady, about 75.5%. However, the daily average rate decreased by 3.2%, sitting around $283. Despite this drop, downtown Nashville accounted for just over $1 billion in room revenues. So just the downtown hotels represented about 52% of the room revenue throughout the county. Despite supply-wise, we only have in downtown 33% of the county supply. In terms of monthly demand, we saw positive growth month over month, with the exception of January and March. When comparing hotel classes, Nashville luxury hotels experienced a 2.2% boost year over year, making them the only category to demonstrate growth was luxury. On the other hand, economy hotels were down by about 7% throughout Nashville. It's worth mentioning that over half the rooms in downtown, the submarket, are luxury and upper upscale hotels, which attributes to some of their success. Nationally, luxury hotels have performed well throughout the U.S. Luxury hotels have increased in demand by about 10% year over year. While on the other side, economy hotels dipped by about 2% in demand. This trend, what we're seeing in Nashville and nationally, is dubbed bifurcation in the travel demand. Lower income demand is waning, largely due to inflation and its ongoing impact on household budgets. Meanwhile, higher income travelers continue to drive demand in the luxury segment. Overall, these trends really highlight the critical importance of downtown with our continued success with tourism. Moving along, this is looking at the other lodging segment, the short-term rental market here in Nashville. This is Davidson County. The 12-month revenue for short-term rentals is up 18.7% year over year. It's getting close to about a quarter of total lodging revenue throughout the county. So 23% of total lodging revenue in 2024 came from short-term rentals. Rates have gone up in Airbnbs and other short-term rentals by 8% year over year. The map on the screen, every one of those dots is about 9,500 countywide active listings with short-term rentals. There's about 1,300 throughout the downtown core. Short-term rentals are growing in popularity for friends or family groups wanting access to a kitchen or a shared common area as a more convenience for a week-long stay. As you see, every month in 2024, short-term rentals experience year-over-year demand throughout the county.
Quick question there. So short-term rentals are required to be permitted, am I correct? And so do we have a comparison of how many permits there are in Davidson County to this map here and these numbers? Just out of curiosity.
Very good question. I don't have them on hand.
Okay.
We can look into that, certainly. So this next slide kind of smashes together hotel demand and short-term rental demand. The big takeaway here is overall lodging demand for 2024 was in the positive. Lodging demand was up 1% when you add in Airbnbs. So looking at this, you can see that we broke even in February, and we minimized the sting of lower performing months we saw with the hotels, March, July, and September. So it helps emphasize that overnight visitation in Nashville is really strong. And hotels certainly are facing the reality of more competition and travelers getting more lodging options. And there's only really slight demand growth ahead of us.
So Bruce, on this slide, so all three slides, it's shown March of last year.
Yes.
Was down. Do we think that was due to Easter being that last weekend in March?
Yes.
Because March is
Yes, we had. I'm seeing that in the reverse this year, which I have a slide on. But yeah, there were 5 Sundays last March, which had an effect, and the Easter holiday did on the shoulder weeks have an effect, certainly.
A quick process question, I guess, kind of along Lisa's lines. This is my understanding, but for the occupancy tax on the short-term rentals, is that collected by the Airbnbs and VRBOs and disseminated to the city, or is that the rentor's responsibility to put that forward?
My understanding that they're required to file the same tax return to the state as the hotels do, and collect it from the renter and then remit it. The Airbnb remits it to the state, it's my understanding.
Okay.
That was the reason for my question about, are they permitted? Because to ensure that they are paying those taxes.
Don't they have to be permitted to be able to be listed on, like, VBRO or?
I hope so.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yes, for the major booking engines like VRBO, Airbnb, most of those are set up to where if you are someone listing a property, it requires you to put in your permit number that you receive from Metro. There could be people who just list a property, say on Facebook Marketplace, randomly. And they could do that on their own. Now, whether they're permitted or not, who knows? But codes is actually the department within Metro that manages that process.
And the data I'm showing you today is from a company called AirDNA that is tracking the listing sites. That's where they're getting their data from. Moving along, we started off the year with a bang. Our New Year's Eve Big Bash was a tremendous success. It was a 5-hour live broadcast on CBS, so essentially a 5-hour advertisement to promote tourism throughout our city. We had record attendance of those that attended, 220,000. That's up about 2.3%. The event estimated to generate $41 million in direct visitor spending throughout Nashville. When surveying visitors, their projected spend on their trip in Nashville is about $2,000. Downtown hotels did very well. Their demand on New Year's Eve was up 7% from the previous New Year's Eve. Downtown hotels saw 88% occupancy and an average rate of $290, which was down a little bit. It was down about 5% year over year. So I got a lot of survey results from the event, high satisfaction scores, once again, very positive feedback about the destination and the event. 68% of visitors surveyed said they stayed in hotels, and their average length of stay was 3.3 nights. Short-term rentals, there was about 16% of the folks that I surveyed said they stayed in an Airbnb or short-term rental, and 11% stayed with family and friends. The total lodging, so if you look at hotel and short-term rentals during New Year's Eve, it was up about 2%, which is really strong. And short-term rentals brought in about 24% of the lodging revenues on New Year's Eve, and their rates were about $319 on average.
I was able to attend. I came early and I left early. I cannot tell a lie. Got to see Keith Urban, but I was really impressed with just a couple of things. The Safe Bar was represented, and there was an area where people could watch and enjoy in an alcohol-free zone, and I thought that was awesome. So, yeah, thank you guys for doing that. I thought that was great.
So looking at 2025, domestic visitation is estimated to grow at a similar rate of the U.S., about 2%. So Nashville is mirroring the U.S. national trends and visitation of under 3% growth ahead of us. The makeup of Nashville 2025 visitors, so the domestic visitors from around the U.S. coming here, it's looking to be a makeup of 36% that are business and group travelers and 64% leisure travelers. The latest forecast for international travelers coming to 2025, these projections were made in the beginning of the year, about 441,000 visitors. That's going to be up about 4%. Canadian travel, our strongest country, about half of visitation of international comes from Canada, and that's expected to grow at 2.4%. Overseas travelers coming to Nashville is expected to rise by 5.7%, hopefully to see a lift from our new nonstop flights with Ireland and Iceland. Visitor spending in Nashville this year is expected to grow by 3.6% to reach $11.2 billion. That works out to be about $30.7 million a day visitors are spending throughout our city at restaurants, hotels, and attractions. The big takeaway and outlook for 2025 shows measured growth with the latest forecast, showing hotel demand to increase about 2% to hit about 10.2 million rooms sold throughout the county. Hotel revenues are expected to grow by 2.7% to again exceed $2 billion in room revenues. To achieve these forecasted projections, we're certainly striving to maintain our leisure travel base and make good on the recovering markets we're doing with business and international travel. So we have 1 month in the books. We have numbers for January with the hotels. Demand was flat year over year for Davidson County. Room supply was up about 3.9%, and that forced occupancy to be level and down 3.4% at 50.5% was the occupancy rate. Hotels their rates were higher at 4% up year over year. The higher rate with demand's level caused room revenues to grow. They were up a robust 4.5% for January year over year. And then if you zoom in on downtown, the Music City Center conventions last month really had a positive effect on January numbers. Room demand was up 8.7%. Rates were higher, up 3%. Downtown occupancy was up 2%. So we saw a positive lift from the citywide conventions we had at Music City Center. We had Anheuser-Busch's convention. That was January 14th through 17th, about 2,900 peak. The Safari Club was here the 22nd through the 25th at 2,900 peak. Granger was here the last weekend of January at 4,000 peak. And you can see in the line graph, the green lines where we saw a spike in downtown room demand attributed to these conventions. About 40% of rooms sold in January were group rooms, and then 58% were transient rooms. A key tool that we use to monitor how hotels are pacing is through a company called TravelClick, and we have about 70% of downtown and midtown hotels' reservation software data to show us how much they have on the books pacing out about 4 months. It's really promising to see the 2 middle weeks of February, this week, the 9th through the 15th, we're up 23%, being that Valentine's Day, President's Day weekend holiday. And then that goes into the week of the 16th to the 22nd. We have a rather big medical group, Vive convention at the Music City Center, and they're at 3,000 peak. And then what you talked about earlier about Easter, there is that flip-flop of March 30th, that week pacing up 29% because Easter is moved into April, and then the weeks around April is down about 19% because it'll be in late April, the Easter holiday. So our sales and marketing team certainly monitors this data weekly to help us identify and address need periods when there's slower demand. There was a recent CNBC article. It was titled Funflation. Concert ticket prices have soared, but music fans don't care. The article talks about concert goers wanting to experience their favorite artists despite the dynamic pricing causing the concert tickets cost to go even higher. We hope many Nashville visitors continue to have that YOLO attitude. You only live once, and like they've done in the last 2 years, they've come to many concerts here in Nashville. So we try to predict our big demand periods. The one to mark on the calendar is that first weekend in May. That's in 2023. We had that Taylor Swift concerts and then Morgan Wallen last year. This year, the first and third, Metallica is coming to town. And then also in May, we have AC/DC at Nissan Stadium. When you go into June, we have CMA Fest returning. That's about 90,000 attendees each day of that 4-day country music concert. Nissan Stadium will host a July concert. Coldplay is coming on the 22nd of July. So there are 3 major concerts on Tuesdays that could impact demand periods in downtown. We have AC/DC in May. Coldplay is on a Tuesday in July. And then the artist the weekend is performing on a Tuesday, and that'll be the August 12th. So hoping to see some boost from these concerts.
Is Bonnaroo in there, or no? Does Bonnaroo affect us?
I don't have it in this data. It's a
Okay.
outlying county, but they do have some positive boost. So here's what's happening at Bridgestone Arena this year in downtown. Concerts including Pearl Jam and Keith Urban. The SEC men's basketball tournament is returning the 12th through the 16th of March. That should be a great event. PBR bull riding. That event in August last year did very well. Demand was up 4% last August, and they're returning again this year. And then we should again see a bump with the CMA Awards in the middle of the week in November as well, again this year. So I wanted to talk more about this new data we have from a company called Future Partners. They do a great job on a monthly basis surveying the American traveler and learning their behaviors, excitement levels to travel domestically. They survey about 4,000 adults who say they are actively traveling throughout the country. And they monitor, as I said, over 40 destinations, including those that visit here in Nashville. For instance, it monitors monthly travel's estimated annual spend. So people are saying how much they're going to spend on leisure travel throughout the year. And year over year, those that are traveling to Nashville, it's up about 35%. So that's a really good, strong indicator. Here's a sampling of the data we had from their 2024 study. They rank over 40 destinations on several categories. I'm proud to report, and you're probably not in shock, that Nashville ranked #1 when it comes to welcoming destination, also positive word of mouth, and rising popularity. We were ranked 4th in safety, which was very good. Also 4th in appeal of places to visit, a solid ranking being 6th in meeting destinations. Other insights include 68% of visitors making travel a financial priority, those that are visiting Nashville. 92% of those visiting Nashville are very excited about leisure travel. Another category we own is major events. When asked about certain travelers and those visiting Nashville, 62.5% of Nashville visitors said they frequently attend festivals and events. There are many insights you can glean from the survey data, and I'm happy in future meetings to share additional trends with you and our members. But we certainly pay attention close to this data for advertising and promotional strategies.
Bruce, I have a quick question about
Sure.
that. For the event statistic, is that their sole reason for visiting Nashville, or is that?
It's more of when they're asked
a
about
part of
these
it?
type of travelers, do you like this? And 62.5% said, yes, I like to travel for this. So I'm trying to get a gauge of the demographics and the behaviors of those traveling to Nashville. This slide, looking at all 40 destinations, what are the negative perceptions about your city? Fortunately, Nashville doesn't have many harsh deterrents of people saying, I don't travel to these destinations. For instance, not being safe, very low with Nashville, 4.7%. Many other popular destinations have far worse scores. New Orleans, the Super Bowl host city, 21.8% of those visiting said that New Orleans was unsafe. San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York are the worst in these rankings. The Big Apple was 42.7% of visitors perceive New York to be unsafe. So we're very thankful that we have very low scores when the perception, and we're deemed a very safe destination. Also, we had low scores in homelessness or bad word of mouth. So those things when people are thinking about traveling to Nashville, very low, where other destinations, larger cities face homeless problems or perception of like a bad reputation. So we have a very good reputation of being very safe and fun, and we need to protect and preserve this and certainly promote it more. You can see the things that we ranked high as deterrents where people just didn't have Nashville on their radar screen. They weren't really thinking about traveling to Nashville. So certainly that's something we want to remedy. Last slide for you, kind of a recap of everything I've presented today. Nashville's visitation is projected to grow about under 3% in 2025. This is in sync with national trends of marginal increases. And then a quote from CoStar on perceptions of looking ahead for Nashville hotels. Strong meetings and conventions are expected to drive weekday demand through the year, with fall months being the most robust. Additionally, major concerts in the spring and summer months, such as Metallica in May 2025, continue to provide a strong base of growth. ADR and RevPAR are expected to remain softer in 2025, with year-end RevPAR results remaining stagnant, ADR changing about 1%. This is all due to the supply's projected increase of about 5%. In fact, if you look at the greater Nashville market, 2,840 new rooms are projected to come online this year. This makes us second only to New York, with new rooms coming online in 2025. On the leisure side, demand has softened, and as I was talking about earlier, particularly in lower income travelers feeling the pinch of inflation, those lingering effects, but luxury travel remains very positive with growing popularity of lodging alternatives. If we were talking a lot today about the Airbnbs, the short-term rentals, that is a growth area when you look at lodging. Overall, we have reason to have very cautious optimism looking ahead, but there's limited wiggle room to achieve these projections for 2025. But nonetheless, travelers surveyed continue to rate Nashville's reputation very high, looking at both safe and welcoming compared to other major U.S. destinations. So with that, certainly appreciate your time, and I enjoy speaking with this group as always.
That's an amazing report. That safe and welcoming is, I think, our secret sauce here in Nashville. And we just need to protect that and in every way we can, for sure. Any questions for Bruce or comments?
What percentage of the new rooms are luxury? Like the additional hotel rooms, what percentage, do we have any idea of how many more luxury hotels we're adding, given that's a growing space?
That is a great question. I'll have to look in that.
That's okay. I just thought when you said the luxury
I
piece,
think there are some upscale and mid-scale, but I
Yeah.
can certainly circle back with that. There's no major luxury properties that are on the radar as of yet.
and fundamentally the Airbnb seems to be eating up the economic space in terms of
Yes.
economic hotels.
Because when you think of Airbnbs, they're a longer stay listing, and people are looking at up to 6-bedroom homes.
But even though the price was higher, you said $319 over $290, which I found was interesting.
Yes. Yeah, the average rates.
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. You have more people to pay into the pie.
Yes.
Just an insight, and I know it's dangerous territory, but to negotiate with the hotels about February, because I was just sharing with Lisa on my phone, I picked it up briefly, everyone, to look at, I've got to go to Chicago, that's my hometown. Hotel, $95 on Lake Michigan in the water. Sable, $95 a night, February 24th to 26th, versus one of ours, Marriott Courtyard, $389 a night in February. So it may be something that we have to broach delicately, but at some point, it may be a serious conversation to have. And I know it's a sensitive area, but especially going forward.
In terms of strategy, it's worth looking into. I agree.
And I'm sorry you have to go to Chicago in February.
I'm okay.
There
The
is
weather's
that.
good. The weather's good. I'm good. Look, as long as it's not for a funeral, I'm good. For a good reason. For a good reason.
All right, Bruce, thank you as always. That was great. So we'll move on to staff reports. Dina, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to continue with New Year's Eve, give you a little more information. Our attendance was record-breaking. 220,000 people were at Bicentennial Park, but we had 6.9 million viewers on television, which was a great number. We won the Central Time Zone rating slot, and that was a 5-hour commercial for Nashville. It was worth about $400 million in advertising. On site, we partnered with multiple community organizations. You mentioned the Sexual Assault Center and our Safe Bar training. We trained all the bartenders there. We had Red Frogs on site for the first time, which was great. We also partnered with Cumberland Heights, and we had a sober space area, which was very busy, very crowded. So it was a great addition to have that, and we'll continue that. We partnered with Culture City. So if you had sensitivities to light and sound, we had bags available with headphones and sunglasses for strobe lights. We gave out, I think it was around 150 of those bags. So you can see that those were also needed, and we'll continue that program. We also work with Compost Nashville and Care Kitchen Outreach, so multiple community partners. A couple of highlights that Bruce did not mention: 83% of the visitors said they came just for the New Year's Eve event, which was incredible. It was their number one reason. And 90% said it was their first time coming to New Year's, which is a surprising number. But that's great to know that we're still attracting new people. 9% of the visitors were international. They're from Canada, Mexico, UK, Denmark, Australia, Brazil, and South Africa. And we did a map in one of our areas, and they put little pins where they were from. So it was fun to see across the world where they were coming in just for this event. So we are negotiating right now with CBS. Our contract is up for our television show, but we feel really confident that we'll be able to move forward with that. We'll know in the next few weeks. So we'd like to continue that show. Moving along, we have a site visit coming up soon with Special Olympics to host the 2030 U.S. Games, which would be worth about 40,000 room nights in July of 2030. Hopefully that will come in our favor, but there is competition there on who wins the bid. This weekend, or not this weekend, the SEC tournament weekend in March, we are hosting, we announced it yesterday, SEC Party in the Park. That's in partnership with SEC. They've asked us to do it. We did it last year. It's Friday and Saturday in Walk of Fame Park. A couple of bands, some food trucks, and it ends by like 7 o'clock or 7:30 each night. So then the people that are there can go out and enjoy the rest of the city. World Cup games, FIFA World Cup club games are coming in June this year. There are 3 games at Geodis Park. Hopefully that will bring in some international visitors. There's teams from Mexico, New Zealand, Argentina, a couple other countries. So hopefully those will be well attended. And I wanted to also mention the AU basketball tournament. The first weekend was record-breaking attendance for them, which was great. They were very pleased. It was the best they've ever done in any city. So that's really good news that has. Yeah, it's like 5 weeks. So it's March. Yeah, it's March something. So we're happy. Really happy about that. Wanted to mention a couple of more than a couple, new accolades that Nashville has received. It's 14th year in a row. The city was named as a top global destination by major travel outlets. Frommer's named Nashville to its list of best places to go in 2025. AAA recognized Music City as one of 10 destinations to put on your travel bucket list in 2025. The Daily Mail out of the UK included Nashville in its 2025 hot list of exciting destinations, and TripAdvisor included the city in its Traveler's Choice Best of the Best Awards, number 7 top 10 U.S. food destinations, and number 6 on the 25 top U.S. destinations. So really strong accolades that we were thrilled to see those come in. 2 weeks ago, we created a new event, partnered with the Nashville Independent Music Venue Alliance. We produced 615 Indie Live, 50 local artists, 14 clubs around the city, independent music venues, $15 ticket. Our goal was to sell 2,000 the first year. We sold 2,400, so it's a big success. The clubs were happy. They were busy all day. It started at noon and went till 3 a.m., and they were all really busy. So it was great, and proceeds go to the MVA. Really good feedback. This was modeled after what we did during COVID called Music City Bandwidth, when we were helping those venues when they were closed, and we did some live music that was streamed online just to help them out. So then we wanted to create it to be live in person. And
do we expect that will become an annual event?
we're going to try it again. We need to get some sponsors. So if there's any sponsors out there that would like to participate, we'd like to grow it. We really would.
Okay.
Yes, it would be great. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Quick question about the Special Olympics site. Is that in part, are we being in part considered because of new Nissan, or as a site we would have been considered regardless?
Yeah, regardless. Okay. They may use it, they may not, we don't know. They'll use several venues around the area.
Thank you, Dina. Adrian, sales report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sales team met assigned definite room night goals for Q1 and Q2, so we were right on pace for our annual room night goal. Nashville was recently ranked as #2 meetings destination by Conference Direct. Conference Direct is a third-party meeting planning group that works with numerous meetings to book nationwide as well as internationally. We continue to nurture our partnership with those associates, which has served us well. #2 to either Orlando or Vegas, which is always good news when we get up into that #2 level. As Bruce mentioned, January saw huge success on the convention side at the Music City Center between Anheuser-Busch, Safari Club, and Granger. Luckily, the snowstorm hit between groups, so that was helpful. Mentioned previously that Safari Club has secured a 10-year deal with the city, so that'll be a standing event for the next 10 years in January, which has incredible attendance. And we are working with Anheuser as well as Granger to secure another future year based on their success in the city, and they're open to that conversation. We recently received word that Cvent Connect will meet in Nashville in July of 2026. It was a very competitive bid process between Nashville and Houston. The event will bring in roughly 3,000 meeting professionals in July of 26. So it's not only a need period for the city, but will also provide exposure for the destination to numerous meeting planners who plan events for 10 people all the way up to 15,000 folks. And that's from corporate to multicultural groups, a really wide variety of planners coming into this city, which will help fill the pipeline for new leads and definite business, not only at our existing hotels, but future construction for years to come.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Have they ever been here before?
They have never been here before.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's really
cool.
exciting.
Way to go.
But that'll be a traditional industry event similar to like an ASAE that we hosted in 22, PCMA in 2018, but it's an emerging event. And C-Event is a software product, so these clients are coming in as part of a user group to learn more about the software products, so we'll be able to expose them to the destination while they're here. Our team is taking member hotels with us to Dallas, San Francisco, and Atlanta for sales blitzes to meet with clients in April and early May. And then this fall, we will return to DC and Chicago for additional blitzes to continue the momentum we are seeing in those markets. And finally, we are monitoring the impact of the new presidential administration on group blocks as it relates to potential pullback in government spending for meeting attendees employed by the federal government. Also monitoring medical conventions who have attendees that receive funding for research grants. And as you just saw, Canada is our #1 international market for Nashville in terms of leisure and group visitors. So we are keeping in touch with U.S. Travel, who is monitoring these topics on a national level, and we'll continue to keep an ear on this topic regarding any potential impacts on this front. So happy to answer any questions you have about that or anything else.
Have you reached out to the directors of sales to forward those cancellations?
We are about to, and we are only as good as the data we received back from you all. We did hear about a couple of meetings in the Midtown area that had canceled as a result. I'm not sure if one of those was at Davidson or not.
We had one in May that just canceled. They didn't say specifically why, but we did some inferring. So
very small to date. I talked to Opryland yesterday, who's also monitoring it. So yes, we have been keeping in touch on it, but we're only good as good as the data that we receive back from the hotel communities. That's worth noting. We've been talking about sending out an email notification to the DOSM community.
And we have had about 6 emails from visitors from Canada saying they're canceling their trip.
I was wondering about that. Are we going to try to balance that out? Because if Canada says, let's play ball, we
And
need to back
each
up
one,
on
you could tell there was specific messaging they were given because each one said, we're supporting other Canadian destinations, keeping our money in Canada.
I was concerned. When I wrote that down, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation earlier.
A valid point.
But we got to figure out something different.
National issue.
More revenue streams, in other words, because...
Right. Any other questions on sales? Okay. Heather.
Please, Heather, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Just some quick marketing updates. Obviously, we have 2 international flights launching in April. Very exciting. Iceland Air on April 10th and Aer Lingus on April 12th. So we are in the midst of working on our advertising to promote both of those flights. We are targeting the markets of the UK, Ireland, the Nordic countries, France, Germany, and Netherlands through programmatic digital marketing with retargeting, a content partnership with Time Out, and of course, social marketing as well. It's really the first time we've advertised in several of those markets, so we're really excited to reach out to some new visitors that way. We are focusing, as usual, on music lovers, culinary, festival goers, arts and culture as our pillars for targeting those travelers. On March 11th, we will be in Dublin for the launch event in conjunction with Aer Lingus to bring in journalists and travel trade partners to promote the new flight, which is exciting as well. January and February, we looked at we created a Winter Rocks promotion. So you may remember we've done this in the past with the month of April. We sort of looked at it like an umbrella and said, here are all the things happening in January and February to entice people to come visit, to showcase all that is going on. So it was things like Zoolumination, Black History Month, MLK Day, and we created a discount ticket program, which included Musicians Hall of Fame, Country Music Hall of Fame, and NAMAM. About a $20 discount for visitors, trying to entice them to come visit when they may not think about visiting Nashville. February, we are in the midst of Dine Nashville, which is in our 4th year. The program has done really well for our restaurants at a time when their business is traditionally down. So we have 18 chef collaboration, one-time only ticketed events happening throughout the month. And we have almost 60 restaurants online for Restaurant Week, which is at the end of February. So those are going really well. And then on the PR front, our PR team is really busy. Last week we had a group in from the UK, and then we have 4 more press groups coming between now and April. One in conjunction with Aer Lingus on the inaugural flight, made up of European journalists, 2 domestic press trips, and then a press group from Australia as well. So more international journalists visiting than ever before.
Very exciting. Thank you. I have tickets to one of the collab dinners. I'm very excited. All right. Very good. Marie, I'm so sorry. Let me stop a second here. Does anybody have any other questions or comments for either Adrian or Heather? Thank you. Sorry about that. Please, Marie. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Exciting news. The Music City Chart Climbers program has launched. We have shared this with you before. This is our Business Accelerator program, and there are 15 businesses in the cohort, representing actually a wide variety of different industries such as transportation, printing, video production, food and beverage, and unique gifts and experiences. We kicked off session 1 last month with an intro to CBC session. We thought it was important to share with them to give them a good foundation of who we are and what we do. And we had a representative come from each department, Heather and Adrian and others, just to share, how we bring tourists to the city, and also how we work together as an organization to do so. And I must say, this is a really, really great group. They're very engaged. Some of them have gone through other accelerator programs. They ask a lot of questions, which we love because it means they're learning a lot. We are hosting session 2 tomorrow here for them, and where Dina will share the branding story of Music City. And also we will have a panel discussion with several business owners to talk about how they branded their companies, and hopefully encourage the group to fine tune and focus on their own branding stories. And then
Marie, can I jump in here?
Sure.
I happened to be in the building for whatever reason the day that the first cohort was here, and I got to meet some of the folks as they were coming in, and they were highly excited about this. This is designed to be the minority business.
Absolutely. Yes.
Incubator, if you will, or correct. Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Just getting a lot of great feedback. I think one of the things that is consistent that they're saying is they want more time, which is a really good sign. And then the other thing that I had was more great news to share with you, this time about our friend and BMI exec, Shannon Sanders. He is our current CBC board member and actually served on this commission for several years, which we appreciate. Many of you know he's a 2-time Grammy and Emmy Award winner and a Dove Award winner. But on Martin Luther King Day last month, the National Museum of African American Music honored him by featuring him in an exhibit in their lobby. And it was a whole deal. It was a program. They did an interview with him, very well attended, lots of people there, very diverse crowd. And the cases represent his journey in the music industry, from when he started out in hip hop to a producer on up to Grammy Award winner. He's a longtime supporter, obviously, of the music industry, but also of the hospitality industry. We worked with him for years on promoting Nashville's unique and authentic stories. So we just want to let you know that that's available. It's through the month, I think, early April, because they try to rotate those exhibits out every 3 months. So if you're at NAMAM, please stop by and visit. Any questions?
Thank you for sharing that. I got to know Shannon when he was on this commission some years ago, and he's the real deal for sure. I remember we were having one of these meetings during COVID, and it was on Zoom, and he happened to be in Australia. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but he was quarantined, so he was 2 week.
That was the Elvis movie, yeah.
And I saw him afterward, and he was sharing the story about his part in that Elvis movie. He's in the opening scene wearing the robes, and he's the preacher. And he shared with us that those robes were his grandfather's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he got to choose the name of his character, which he chose his grandfather's name, which I thought was a fun story. I hope that's featured in his exhibit. But congratulations to him. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. I think that concludes all the staff reports. I just wanted to remind everybody that you should have received by email the legal training manual that came out, I want to say last month. But if you do get a chance, just take a glance at it. There's some good information in there and some good additional resources and talking about ethics and who we are on this commission and how we want to be sure and conduct ourselves legally and professionally. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 15th at 8:30 a.m. I look forward to seeing you all here. And is there any other business or announcements anybody would like to share? All right. Well, I would I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye. Good meeting. Thank you all very much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.